with two raging intellectuals.
Live on YouTube and Twitch.
Exposing the predator class with Brock and Agent X. Streaming live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, welcome to Command HQ. It is Friday, December 23rd, 2022.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. Agent X, how you feeling?
Dude, the coronavirus got me, bro.
I think
it's not I'm struggling. Let's just say that.
I think it's going around too. I know a lot of people have it here.
Yeah, it's definitely going around. It's I don't know. I sent you that article today, which was funny. It said they conducted a study at the Mayo Clinic, and basically what they found was that the more shots, vaccinations, and boosters you got for COVID, the more likely you were to get repeat cases. Oh my God, what a mess.
Yeah, I wish that I would have saved that article. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. Where is it? Oh man. Yeah, let me try and pull this up quick.
I might have it quick. Hold on. You got to show Biden grabbing Zelensky's ass, bro.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately I didn't load that one either.
Oh man. Yeah, I can't find it.
Here we go. Nope, that's not it. Oh man. All right. Let me see if I can pull it up into Miro here. Man, I am so unprepared tonight.
Man, there's just so much. There's a lot. Oh, here, I got it for you. Hold on. There's a lot going on in the world right now. Oh shit. We can't even click it. It says oh, here you go. I'm sending it to you in the private chat. I just sent it to you in the private chat.
All right, let me pull it up. Okay, so let me zoom this out. Okay, study shows chances of contracting COVID increase with each vaccine dose. This is a study from the Cleveland Clinic.
Yeah, not Mayo Clinic, sorry.
Question COVID vaccine efficacy. Posted additional doses may in fact increase one's likelihood of contracting the disease. Interesting.
It's terrible. How many clot shots did you get, bro?
0.
You pure blood.
No pure blood.
Oh my God, dude, I tell you
knew
what,
something
man,
was up.
This China virus, this Wuhan virus, it's terrible.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, we're not experts, obviously. We're just reading news articles. But have you ever, in your lifetime, Agent X, experienced kind of like, a flu-like virus that just goes around and just stays around.
Well, it's called the flu.
Yeah, but COVID is like, like the flu. I mean, I guess what I'm getting at here is that, yeah, the flu's been around forever, right? For like 100 years.
Yep.
When there was that major outbreak in like 1917 or whenever that was. But I'm saying, like, in our lifetimes, have you ever experienced this level of sickness that just continually goes around and just makes people routinely sick every few months?
No, and um, so I felt like in the past before all this, you'd get sick and you'd be congested for a day. Or I even remember, you get sick and you'd have to, basically get in the bed and kind of sweat it out. But you do it for a night, and the next day you start feeling a little bit better. You're not chill. You don't have the chills as much. You're not like it would pass quickly. It would pass quickly. But with this China virus, man, it hits you, and it hits you for like you're down for 2 or 3 days at least, and then even then, it's just a little bit of recovery every day. It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing that is different than any other illness that I've ever had, and that is that there's like this massive headache when you get COVID that I feel, and like it's an artificial headache. I mean, everyone's had the flu, everyone's had other sort of general, you know, sicknesses that come through and have had plenty of headaches, but this is different. And it's like the first time that I had COVID, it was excruciating. And then every time that I have had COVID since, and I think that I've had COVID twice since, I feel like this kind of like weird artificial sense that something is off, and it's like a massive headache that comes on really quickly.
Yeah, man. It's and it lingers. It lingers even after you think you're feeling better. Like you're still coughing, you're still congested, you don't feel well, like you're fatigued. I think the fatigue is the biggest issue. This was definitely engineered to really be potent. So,
Yeah.
dude, why don't enough of the Wuhan flu? Let's talk about your best friend, your comrade, your uh, uh, number one boy, Sam Bankman Faggot.
Okay, so we have the U.S. versus Bankman-Fried case up here. I have it organized, and there's so much stuff that's come out recently within the past few days. Um, so I've kind of collected some of the articles here, as well as some of the noteworthy videos. But I just wanted to get your take before we jump into this, Agent X. Like, what is your take at this point of this entire case?
Well, it's prosecutorial misconduct across the board,
Mm-hmm.
and for the court to allow it to happen is bullshit. And I'll tell you why. It's multiple things, right? You're starting to see the beginnings of it. Um, you're seeing the brief glimpses, right? So, first of all, they charged this guy, um, and he's extradited, and they put him on, a Learjet and flying back personally. Flying back personally. It does. He's not like everybody else who has to wait, you know, weeks or even months and months and months to get extradited. Now they put him on a plane immediately, which was bullshit. Then what I thought was the dirtiest part of all, and I'm not defending Sam Bankman-Fried, but this was a dirty tactic by the prosecutors, was to seal the plea agreements of Ellison Wong. They entered into their plea agreements on Monday under seal, and they waited to unseal it until they had secured Sam Bankman-Fried, until he had waived his extradition and he was on the flight back. If he had known that they had flipped on him, there's no way he would have waived extradition. He would have made it as impossible as he could have to extradite him. And so that was a dirty, shady tactic by the prosecution. The prosecution should have been open up for, or they just should have waited to file the plea agreement. I mean, for Ellison and Wong, but it was just dirty. I mean, it's just a dirty tactic that these prosecutors play. And then you actually get to the bail hearing, right? Like the media is reporting on it, $250 million bail, $250 million bail, the largest bail ever, and the media immediately misreports it, and and then as they're starting to get called out, they said no, he's got to post 10%. No. He walked out of there on a signature, on a personal recognizance bond. The only thing that's the only thing that's been put up as collateral is his parents' home. But irregardless, you got some comments. But
Are you
irregardless,
Australian? No. We are
uh,
from the United States.
we're
Giorgio.
we're full blooded Americans. Um,
Purebloods.
but but they give this fucking whack job bail, right? They didn't give Martin Scarelli bail. Nah, they made Bernie Madoff put up $10 million of cold hard assets.
Okay, we got Hassan the One saying this is scummer. I wonder if that's Amjizz.
I think it might be Amjizz.
Scummer alert.
Scummer alert.
It's Amjizz.
It's definitely Amjizz, bro.
Um, okay, so the $250 million bond, apparently, which is the highest bond in the history of state and federal court. So it's just fake. It's just like we're always talking about this. Beware of them guys. Do you want to say something to Amjizz while he's chiming up here?
Man, he's welcome to call in.
Hey Amjizz, we have the call-in number here, so call in. You called in before, but you hung up like a little pussy. Why don't you stay on the line and actually debate us?
Yeah, there's a little URL at the top. Just punch that into your phone or your browser, and get on here and prove to us you're not a big fat pussy, and say your piece.
That's right. Okay, so aside from Amjizz here, back to SBF. So, Agent X, the $250 million bond was completely fake, made up, secured through the collateral of SBF's parents' house, which is worth $4 million. Now, we do have the actual order here, which I want to bring up, but I also want to play one of these Betsy Quick CNBC interview pieces where they're talking about the bail. But let's look at the order itself. And so I'm going to go up here and take a peek at the actual document. So this was filed yesterday. Typical sort of bond template issued by SDNY. So we got to look at, let's see, page 2 here.
Form.
So if we dig deeper into this actual order, you will see that there's not only very few restrictions on Sam Bankman-Fried. For example, there's no restrictions on drug use, on alcohol use. He can travel at will. But what's really interesting here is what you're looking at right now, which is that this is secured by one non-family member. I don't know if you can see my cursor here, but it's in the first sentence here. If I zoom in closer, to be signed by 4 FRP, 1 non-family. So who do you think that non-family member is, Agent X?
I don't know, man. I don't know that they've got a person yet. There's only 2 signatures on it so far, so I guess we'll find out at his next court appearance.
I mean, do you think this is just like a bullshit bond agreement?
Absolutely. I mean, it's such a sham. I mean, they cranked the number up to $250 million to make it look like it had some teeth, but in actuality, look at what any former or assistant U.S. attorneys say. This has no teeth to it. This was shocking. It's actual legal malpractice. How can you let somebody like him back out on the street? I mean, that's the problem. And that's essentially what they did, right? They gave him it's a sweetheart deal. Hey,
Yeah.
Hassan, won't you call in, bro? Is he called in?
No. If anyone wants to call in, please do call in to discuss this case. I mean, there's some other nuggets in here. Like, let's see. Where is it? Defendant must sign an appearance bond. Yada, 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 yada. Let's see. What else? Pretrial services, home detention. Oh, well, the other thing in here is that, like, he can go to education-related activities. SBF can go to the gym. I mean, his parents' house is on the Stanford campus in Palo Alto. So essentially he can do anything he wants within the entirety of Stanford's campus, which is gigantic. And it says that it's a strict monitoring protocol, but he stole something like $1.8 billion. And he's sitting here with this kind of sweetheart deal. No one else would get this kind of deal. I mean, when you talk about like January 6th protesters and so forth, and they're sitting in solitary confinement for simply walking on the Capitol grounds, and then you have something like this come through where SBF, because he's donated to so many politicians, he gets a deal like this through the SDNY. He gets private jet chaperones wherever he wants to go. So did they fly him on a private jet back from New York to San Francisco?
No,
Probably.
I think he flew commercial. That's what I heard.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to say is please do subscribe to the channel. We are also live streaming to Twitter as well now. Because Twitter.
Yeah, Hassan, why don't you like and subscribe the video?
Yeah, Hassan, why don't you call in? Okay, so let's go back to this $250 million agreement. Should we play Betsy Quick's little?
Yeah.
Was released on $250 million in bond while awaiting trial for fraud and other criminal charges. Mackenzie Sigalos has been following the story closely. Mackenzie, I think people were a little shocked to see, first of all, that he got bail. Second of all, that he was able to come up with enough to cover it. I know it's not $250 million, but it's still a big chunk of change.
It is, but on the face of it, it is. At the moment, a source close to the Bankman-Fried team told me a short time ago that Bankman-Fried is wheels down, apparently flying commercial back home to California. We're awaiting firm guidance on it. Now, back to your point about that $250 million number. In theory, it's the largest ever for pretrial bail in U.S. history. But the arrangement really lacks teeth. His parents put up equity in their Palo Alto home as collateral. The house is valued at $4 million on Zillow, which is a fraction of that $250 million bond. A former federal prosecutor described it as an empty promise. The other terms of his bail agreement also pretty tame. Bankman-Fried cannot open any new lines of credit above $1,000, and he has to submit to mental health counseling. He's had his passport confiscated and will be confined to the Northern District of California, where he will be living with his parents in their Palo Alto home. It is a surprisingly small set of demands for a man who federal prosecutors allege perpetrated a, quote, years-long brazen fraud against his investors and customers, bilking them out of $8 billion. Guys?
I mean, does the Bahamas, the authorities there look at this and say, what the heck? Because they denied him bail there.
I think a lot of people are confused, one, as to why there was a bail arrangement in the first place. Prosecutors.
Yeah. So, Agent X, if the Bahamas denied SPF bail down there when they were trying to extradite him back up to the United States, and yet now he's just basically let go, what does that mean? I mean, are they just trying to give him the runway to Epstein himself?
Well, my inclination is the conspiracy theories aside, is that he promised to cooperate to help them land a bigger fish or more fishes if he would plead out if he got the bail deal.
So that's actually very confusing to me, because to me, SBF is the big fish. Like, what other big fish are there? I mean, there's like Ryan Miller, who's the general counsel of FTX. I mean, is he looking for other investors or other stakeholders who actually participated in this fraud?
Yeah, I think that's what they're going after. So the people like Mr. Wonderful,
Kevin
how
O'Leary.
deep did Mr. Wonderful have his fingers in FTX? All the bailouts to BlockFi, and a few other ones that FTX did. How involved were those guys? One name that keeps popping up is Anthony Scaramucci. FTX and Bankman bought 30% of Skybridge Capital. So, yeah.
And
I think
CZ too, over at Binance.
Well, right, and I think he may have dirt on some of these politicians and stuff, some of this funny money. But I mean, even if there was no cooperation, he probably got the deal because he came in and he said, okay, he's going to plead guilty. And that was another thing I forgot to mention. It's very suspicious, is that he went to his initial hearing and it wasn't an arraignment, right? Everywhere else would be an arraignment, and they made some bullshit excuse up that the presiding judge wasn't there to do the arraignment. Magistrate judges do arraignments in federal court. That's bullshit. So they held off on and I think the news is missing this. They held off on the plea because he held off on the arraignment entering a plea is because he is working on a plea deal with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and they basically like, okay, if you're going to plead guilty, we're going to let you go home on these conditions, say goodbye to your parents, yada, yada, yada. You can work with your counsel. And, what would kind of make me believe that's what actually happened if he also could provide information that would nail some other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're onto something. Especially considering that crypto right now, it's at a good point to at least enforce some of the violations that they could get from SBF without heavily impacting the crypto market. And so they're kind of keen to do it really quickly right now. Anyways, outside of that, like what kind of the politician angle, like what do you think SBF has on any like politicians?
Pay for play, bro. Pay for play.
You think they're going to try and claw back any of these donations that SBF gave to the Democrats or even Republicans, the anti-Trump Republicans?
No, they won't do that, but they're probably going to start looking at, whether there was any pay for play schemes, whether he sought. I think some of his indictments are campaign finance violations. Some of the counts in his indictment.
We should pull up. We'll get the indictment document over here. I'll pull that up and put that in here. But you're probably right. So like in cases like this, so they've actually begun the criminal portion of this entire thing. But when do you think a bankruptcy trustee will be assigned by the federal court to start clawing back some of this money?
It's probably on fairly short order, I would imagine. Because the bankruptcy proceeding is going to be separate from the criminal case. I don't think they're going to try to run those in parallel. I think SBF made a statement today that the Sullivan and Cromwell attorneys who were handling the bankruptcy were engaging in like mentally abusive tactics or something. You might be able to Google it and find it. It's really weird. Dude, Hassan, if you're out there, don't be a pussy and call in. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, so the lawyers are already getting ready here to make a massive payday with $2,100 an hour retainers. Wow. Okay. So, yada yada yada. Okay, so Sullivan and Cromwell is representing FTX in its Chapter 11 case and guiding its efforts to return the assets.
That's not what he said. Hold on, that's not the article. Let me find it.
If you're out there, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also streaming to Twitter now as well, so please do subscribe to that channel or follow it, whatever. Please like the video as well. Hassan, call in, man. We definitely want to hear from you. If anyone else wants to call in, we have the number up there on the top. So the oh wow, okay, so Sullivan and Cromwell started months before they filed for bankruptcy.
They said that they pressured them into filing for bankruptcy, and here's the article. I'm sending it to you right now to the guest chat.
Pulling it up.
Sullivan Cromwell is a bunch of dirty brown-shoed Jews. Gotta zoom in, bro.
To let's see, zoom into
the text. Yeah.
Okay, so boom boom boom, outside counsel, yada yada yada. They got Rain Miller, general counsel. That's wrong. His name is Ryan Miller, not Rain. Okay. SBF's testimony alleges Sullivan as well as Miller pressured him to file Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection using tactics from mentally unbalanced to, quote, unbalanced. So this was kind of out there before. SBF did allege that he was being heavily pressured to sign documents to put FTX into bankruptcy, and that he received a major offer to secure FTX hours after he signed those docs. So it seemed as if it was a setup of some sort. But you're saying that Sullivan and Cromwell here probably was pressuring the general counsel of FTX, Ryan Miller, to put FTX into bankruptcy so that they could make major fees like $2,100 an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
In the bankruptcy case.
It's a fucking scam.
That does seem typical of one of these, big law firms, especially Sullivan and Cromwell. You said it's a brown shoe firm, but it's definitely a white shoe firm. Here's the thing. These law firms make so much money in these major bankruptcies, and what they actually do is help appoint the trustees so that they can have increasing power over clawbacks, and they can just bill out, and what ultimately happens.
Mr. Wonderful was trying to get on the creditor committee. That's what he's trying to do, and he says he's going to bill like crazy, and he's going to claw back. But it's all a corrupt game, man. It's who you know. It's kickbacks. It's the way every judicial appointment is. They just don't appoint somebody out of thin fucking air. They appoint their buddies or somebody that did them a favor so they can get, basically bill for doing no work and walk off with a few $100,000.
Yep. Exactly. So it's nothing new.
No.
All right. Well, there's one other major piece of news that came out of this, which is I think that Alameda was taking unsecured loans, and they had like an unlimited credit line that kind of like threw them over the edge. See, that's another conspiracy theory, is like who is giving them an unlimited unsecured credit line in order to push FTX and Alameda over the edge so that they could crash the crypto market.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I do think it was CZ who ultimately did them in through a series of plays. But I don't know, man. The fact that they're just letting this guy essentially walk free on his signature, given where he was, given what he's done, after the prosecutor, the dipshit prosecutor who agreed to it, said it was a fraud of epic proportions. I mean, dude, if this was you and I, let's just say it wasn't. Let's just say it was $1,000, right? $1,000. We wouldn't be walking free on a signature bond. There's no fucking way.
No way. There's no way. There's very few people who would walk free in situations like this, and SBF is one of them. So it raises a lot of questions, like how did he get this deal? What kind of calls did he make? What kind of calls did his parents make? And here, we didn't talk about this too, Agent X, and I know this is one of your favorite topics, but Dan Abrams. So,
you got the clip? Play the clip a little bit.
This is a clip.
The founder of collapsed cryptocurrency exchange
from Dan Abrams on his Nexstar show, Dan Abrams Live, which airs like nightly at 9:00, and he's talking about FTX.
I think this was yesterday or the day before.
Do you want to provide some context for this, in that like his sister is involved in this case?
No. Just play it a little bit first.
The founder of collapsed cryptocurrency exchange FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, remains in a jail cell in the Bahamas as he waits for extradition to the United States and the possibility of spending decades behind bars. But what about his parents? I'm surprised so few are asking whether either of them could be in legal jeopardy. Fried's father, Joseph Bankman, works as a tax law professor at Stanford, though he's announced he won't be teaching at the university next year. The father, Bankman, worked for FTX for almost a year. Deeply involved in the business in its early days, he helped the company recruit its first lawyers. Last year, he joined the FTX staff in meetings.
So, I mean, here's the problem with it, right? Is if I was representing Sam Bankman-Fried, I'd go up and immediately ask for a recusal, and I'd play for this video because Ronnie Abrams is the judge in all three of these cases. Her brother is Dan Abrams, who's doing this reporting. He has no journalistic ethics reporting on a case that his sister is involved in. It's a major case, and it's a case where he could sway public opinion one way or the other, right? I mean, just look what he just did. He's not only advocating; he's trying to paint the family as a family of thieves, um, and advocating that they be charged. He's you know muddying the waters,
Look
and
at this.
meanwhile, his sister.
Did you see this? She recused herself today.
Oh, she did.
But not because her brother was reporting on the
No.
case. Rather, apparently because her husband's firm advised FTX. That's even worse.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Well, we got him, bro. I left that
Interesting.
comment on Dan Abrams' video.
Interesting. So it's even worse. But, to a lesser extent, you see that there's like this incestuous relationship with these scandals, and her brother is sitting here prosecuting SBF on his show on national television, and then she's essentially prosecuting him briefly before she recused herself in the SDNY.
You want me to read this order to you?
Yeah, let's hear it.
It has come to the court's attention that the law firm of Davis, Polk, and Wardwell, LLP, at which my husband is a partner, advised FTX in 2021, as well as represented parties that may be adverse to FTX and defendant Bankman-Fried and other proceedings or potential proceedings. My husband has had no involvement in any of these representations. These matters are confidential and their substance is unknown to the court. Nonetheless, to avoid the possibility, avoid any possible conflict or the appearance of one, the court hereby recuses itself in this action.
It'd be interesting to read more comments here, but yeah, birds of a feather flock together. Okay, so she recused herself, fine. Her husband was involved in this fraud. I mean, so is her husband now going to be at least tagged in this investigation? Is this going to be part of the bankruptcy clawback? Like, is he going to be a witness in this case? So it raises a lot of questions. But we were just talking about her brother, broadcasting about this case. And, then it raises the question whether or not her brother really should be broadcasting about any case that comes through the Southern District, considering that his sister, is on that court.
It's certainly an issue, particularly given what happened between the Cuomo brothers.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I think we have one other clip here. It's just a regular. Oh, we got what's his face talking about this sham bail deal here. We should probably play that really quickly before we close our stream down.
Joining me now,
SBF.
Andy McCarthy, Fox News contributor and former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, the very same district court as Bankman-Fried's. Andy, it's always great to see you and get your perspective on what's happening here. This has obviously been one of those stories that continues to develop, and we watch it very closely. I'll pose the same question to you. The $250 million in bail, that was staggering. Your thoughts on how they put this package together and some of the parameters that went with it?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a sham, Jackie. I mean, you don't say that you have to have $250 million to avoid somebody from fleeing from the charges and then let him leave basically on a signature. I mean, I'm sure his parents have a very nice house in Palo Alto. I'm betting it's probably not worth anything close to $250 million. So I think they wanted to make a splash and say, that they got a bail amount that was the biggest bail amount in the history of bail amounts. But, the Bernie Madoff $10 million that you were talking about, that was a real actual $10 million.
Right.
Where he had to come up with collateral and things that they could execute on if he actually fled. Here, it's true that, like, anybody who signs that bond will be on the hook for the face amount of the bond, which is $250 million if he takes off. But do they really think that they can execute on anything close to $250 million based on that bond, where they haven't made anybody post property to speak of other than that house? I really don't think so.
Probably not. No.
Okay, so Agent X, Bernie Madoff had to come up with $10 million. I don't know if Martin Shkreli also had bond. I think he did. I think it was a couple $1 million. He definitely had to come up with that. That's another.
No, he was no. He was in jail.
Was he?
No, he was on bond. No, he was on bond. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we could ask him, but I think Shkreli had to come up with cash, right? Or at least get a bail bondsman to give him sort of insurance, and come up with a certain amount of
His
money.
was
on
$5 million.
$5 million. Okay. So
million.
even if he had to come up with what, like 10% of that or 20% of that, that would have been $500,000 or something. So
No,
Bernie Madoff had to come up with 10 mil.
Yeah.
And SBF
they don't do that. They don't do that 10% shit in federal court. So
that's
weird.
right.
Everybody keeps saying that. Dude, I gotta shut it down. I'm losing my voice.
Okay. Well, I hope you all have a great Christmas here, and we will probably see you later. But before we go, yeah.
If Brock's available, we'll be doing a late night Christmas Eve stream
tomorrow. Yeah, hopefully on Christmas as well, maybe later as well. Hey, do you have anything else to say, Agent X? You want to tell everybody to subscribe to our streams and follow the channels and stuff?
Yeah, subscribe, and that's all we ask. No, man, dude, that's all we ask is that you check it out, that you like it, you subscribe. Dude, we're not like these guys like Martin Shkreli who are asking you for money. So,
yeah. All right, we'll shut it down. See you later. Bye.
Kind of light with powers and properties unlike anything that